Howdy guys, and welcome back to some more Command & Conquer 3. As always, this is Sinapse. Today we're playing Croatia. You can see I just showed you, I have a save prepared, as I've done before. This is an exceedingly micromanagey mission, so that is why I'm going to do it. Once again, I'm going to get to a point where I would be sufficient to kind of sustain, continue micromanaging things, repair things as necessary, and then I'm going to load that save so you don't have to see it all, because it'll be even longer than it already is. It's going to be a 30-minute episode, as it is. Otherwise, it'd probably be 45. The challenge about this mission is, as you can see, everything is low on power, and everything is basically already dead, or nearly dead. And you have no way to make any more structures. So if you lose a structure, you're done. Including turrets. The only thing you can make is your infantry and your vehicles, which, I mean, you can defend, but you cannot actually go and do anything. So you have to hold out for help, which will be the MCV. You have to wait for a 5-minute period. And they will attack from the north and the east with tanks and attack bikes and such, and they will attack from the south and the west with infantry and stuff of that nature, and then they'll attack with venoms just kind of at random, wherever they see fit. As you can tell, this venom is terrorizing my infantry. But it's a game of power management, so you're only going to have like 6 turrets activated at any one time. So you really want to have at least one anti-infantry watchtower on each of the 2 sides to begin with, at least. And then you most definitely want to have both Guardian turrets on both sides, because they are essential to keep away the Nod vehicles that will come at you. And what you have to do is have 2 or 3 Predator tanks per side, and you're going to need to micromanage them by telling them to retreat, go backwards. The backwards move key is great, where it will make them move in reverse, so they'll stay facing forward, which just saves time, plus their frontal armor is always stronger than their rear armor, which means they'll take less damage as they're going to heal if they're getting hit constantly. And so eventually you want to have enough that you can swap them out without leaving one on the front, like leaving the front line weaker. So you can have like just one waiting in the backup, and then instantly swap them out, so you can have a full line at all times, a full healthy line at all times. But to begin with, it's not really that feasible, especially since you have, like, resources. So one of the things you want to do right after getting your initial base defense set up is get another harvester, which you can see I just did. One thing I have a beef with about watchtowers, man, is they don't attack the rocket squads just outside of the range of them. And the rocket squads can hit them, but the turrets can't, which is annoying. To no end. Oh, sorry if you heard that boop boop sound. But as you can tell, I didn't actually state this. You might be able to tell. Hopefully you can be able to tell us, because it's a little bit different than what I normally do. This is a post-commentary episode. I decided to do the post-commentary instead of live commentary, because this is just such a tedious mission when you're first starting off, and I have to basically focus immensely on what I'm doing, because there's 4 directions attacking me, and I need to micromanage all my tank's health, and worry about pit bulls and going places, and basically it's hard to provide good commentary while I'm focusing on not dying in this mission. There's some missions that are easier than others that you're like, okay, I know what I'm doing, it's not that difficult, I just have to have patience, and eventually I'll win. And there's others that it's like, I need to have 100% focus to actually be able to successfully do this. So you can see I have APCs on the 2 directions that have infantry attacking them. Eventually you want to have basically fully ranked master riflemen or APCs inside of them. Preferably the APCs, because then they regen their health, and you don't have to worry about them ever dying, really. And they can hold down, and then you can take power away from the watchtowers and put them into your anti-air defenses, which then you can just not worry about venoms anymore. I played this mission a few times on Xbox back when the game was still pretty new, and one thing you could do on this mission is once you had a good enough setup, you could go and actually attack the Nod bases and take them over. If you look at the top right of the minimap in the top right of the top right minimap, you'll see that gray spot up there, and that is where the Nod tanks and vehicles are coming from. There's a vehicle base up there. To the southwest, there is an infantry base, and to the southeast, there is a air base up on a hill, so you can't get it with normal ground units. And what you used to be able to do is go into the vehicle base, and you could take over their construction yard, and you get access to every single one of those Nod things. So you can get nuclear missiles, and it wouldn't know that you had taken it over, and so it would give you everything, and so you could really be overpowered. I'm going to do that in this mission. However, you do not get like nukes and everything. It basically pins you at the same technology tier that you have normally when you get your MCV. And if you were paying attention in the last minute, you saw that that MCV has arrived. However, it is pinned down in ambush, so it's just going to sit there until we actually go and rescue it. I'm going to load the save because it takes a while for things to just kind of, my resources to build up and things to get ranked up. But at that point I had enough APCs and Predators that I could just kind of micromanage and sit there for as long as I needed to. I built some more Predator tanks, and now it's time to actually go on the offensive and go kill the vehicle base, because that's the most pressing concern, really. It's the biggest threat to your structures, especially. And once that's out of the way, it's just generally easier. Plus, you can send an engineer in an APC and capture the Nod stuff, and you can get some Nod equipment without actually going in, or you can get basically new buildings without going and rescuing your MCV yet, so you can have a better force to go rescue your MCV with, because it's kind of annoying if you want to do the bonus objectives and everything, and you don't have extra structures and technology and stuff. But at this point, I think I'm going to kind of take it away from focusing on actually commentating what's going on in the game, and go on to random off-topic things. My general topic is going to be life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Which is, I guess, the most general topic in the world, because it's living, it's life for every single one of us. And there's like those moments where you experience this thing called Sonder, where you realize that every single person in this world has just as a complex life as you have. They have their own issues, and they have their own worries and loves, and they're worrying about, oh, this guy likes me, oh, I need to go on a date with this person, blah, 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 and I need to worry about my job, and, like, every single person in the world's experiencing that. And there's, like, moments where you just kind of realize the scale of that, where there's 6 billion people on this planet, and we all have our individual lives. And everyone's different, and we all have our own unique agendas, and it's kind of crazy to think about that we somehow are all living together, and we haven't all just killed each other yet. Because you would think one person would just do that at some point. Like, it seems inevitable, but somehow we've survived as a species. I don't know how. Yeah, GDI reinforcements are under attack. I should stop commenting about the game now. But the topic of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness can kind of encompass anything, which is why I kind of picked it. Because this is kind of my venting, almost. Playing video games and talking over them. Playing video games, obviously, is just a fun escape. It's a distraction from what's going on in the world. In my video game world, nothing matters. It doesn't matter what my socioeconomic status is, if I have a job, if blah 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 likes me, if blah 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 blah, whatever. Nothing matters. It's just the game and what I do in the game, It's a small, controllable environment, and that sense of control is what gets a lot of people addicted to games. And I've definitely been addicted to games before, where it's more based on the situation I'm in than the game itself. It's not the game was that great. It was that I can control things in that game and feel proud about them where you couldn't in real life. And different people have different escapes. Like, so there's some people that don't play video games, but then their escape is art, so they like paint paintings. I've never been artistic. I have great things in my mind. I think everyone's an artist in their mind, and then I tried to make things on the paper, and it just kind of disintegrates into terrible third grade drawings. Never really advanced past that point of art class. Never very artistic. I've always been more the science engineer person. But that's my strengths. I mean, everyone has their own things, and then some people like escape through music. Some people compose music. So some people just play music that's already been composed. It doesn't really matter. Everyone has their escape, whether you really want to admit it or not. There is some form of stress coping that you will default to, and if you've somehow never experienced stress in your life, I don't know how you're living. Like, how? I think every other person would like to trade lives with you, please. Stress is just kind of a natural thing. You realize that more and more as you get older. It's just the world is kind of cruel, honestly. It's not gonna go your way all the time, and being a kid, like a little kid, not like even in middle school, you kind of start to realize it. Like elementary school, it's like nothing matters. Everything should go your way, and everything does go your way for the most part. Like, unless you had a really, really bad childhood, which, I mean, some people do. But, like, elementary school, you don't have worries. You don't have to be like, oh, I have to worry about, like, if I'm going to have food to eat for the next few days. Even if your family's worrying about that, you personally don't really worry about that. But, like, as you get older, it's like, the world is kind of cruel. Maybe I'm just cynical, which I know I am cynical. So it's not a maybe, but maybe I'm overly cynical. It doesn't hurt to be cynical, I think, in some senses. You don't want to be, hey, everything's going to be great. Oh, it didn't work out. Okay, whatever. And then just kind of go along until you're dead because you think everything's going to magically turn around. If that is how you thought, you probably die pretty quickly. If you didn't ever try to change a bad situation, then the bad situation would just continue until it got worse and worse and worse, and then obviously probably that would eventually lead to your demise. But like you do get more cynical, I think, as you kind of learn about the world and you realize all the things that are wrong with it, and that it's far from perfect. It is. You grow up with this kind of beautified view of the world. It's, oh, everyone's happy, we all share science, we're gonna like cure cancer, we're gonna fight all these diseases, and then you realize that there's all this terrible stuff going on in the world. It makes you think, like, why would you want to live in this world? Why would you want to have this be this way? Like, why isn't this different? Why is it this way? And people have different answers for it. I don't know the answer. I just know that it is a pretty messed up world, honestly. Like, if you just look at Africa and most of Asia, they're not in the best of shapes compared to, like, Europe and U.S. Even Europe and U.S., we have terrible problems going on. There's tons of poverty and, like, starvation and stuff. I mean, not to the scale of anything on, like, Africa's scale, but in inner cities and stuff, it's not good situations. And so as you realize all this stuff, you kind of get a bitterness attached over your view of the world, and you stop thinking it's a perfect little sphere of happiness and joy, and you realize that it's much more screwed up than you thought it was. And so that's just kind of how it works, and at least for me personally, that's how it worked. And from what I've gathered from talking to a lot of other people, a lot of my friends really, they kind of feel the same way, where it's like this world is not really that great, and it's almost not worth like trying to do anything, because it's so terrible it could collapse on itself at any moment. Just this week, 3 days ago from the time I was recording this, North Korea they said they were going to continue doing nuclear or missile testing, specifically types of testing that would test missiles that would be capable of hitting the United States with nuclear payloads. It's like to think that like at any moment there could just be a bright flash and then it's gone, and then all of the United States is in a war, and we've just been nuked, and nukes are dropping everywhere, and it's just complete chaos. Like we're not to the Cold War era of let's build bunkers and the world literally could end at any moment. But I mean, of course, it's always going to be able to end at any moment. Is it more likely now than it was in the Cold War? Definitely not. But I mean, there's still the possibility. Like one crazy guy in North Korea could take over, and it's not like Kim Jong-un is that crazy right now. Maybe he will be in a month. You never know that he'll be like, hey, let's launch a missile at the U.S. Let's see what happens. And a lot of people think they just do it for food, which is probably true. They just want to threaten so that they can get the food that they get when they're like, okay, we'll stop, we'll step down. And they're like, okay, well, we'll reward with food. And then they get it that way. But yeah, it does kind of make you kind of wonder, like, how stable is this world that I'm gonna be living in? Like, do I want to invest tons of hard work into something that could be gone in 3 minutes? I mean, obviously the answer is not going to be no, because if it was no, then you probably wouldn't be here anymore. It's just kind of the thing you keep in the back of your mind. You don't really think about it prevalently. At least I don't really keep it, like, it's just that kind of thing. It's like, we could be just gone in any second, and would anything I had done mattered? Probably not. There might be records of me now because I've started making YouTube videos, and someday somebody might find this recording. Maybe someday millions of people will find it. Maybe I'll blow up and get big on YouTube. That'd be great. Is it going to happen anytime soon? Probably not. If I keep at it eventually, I'll probably, I hope I'll start to build a little following. But until then, I'm talking to basically like 2 people, which happen to be my like best friends who watch my videos. So I guess that kind of concludes that whole thing. And we'll kind of get into. I'm gonna start getting into, not we're. I mean, you're coming along for the ride for what I talk about. And like the pursuit of happiness, that part of the whole life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And just as humans, we're wired to want things that produce endorphins for our brains. It's how it is. We want to do things that make the little happy drugs go in our brain so that we can feel good. Whether that's like doing a good work for humanity, whether that's completing a checklist of something that actually has been shown to like really release some endorphins. If you have like a checklist and you like actually do the task and then check them off, like the checking action releases some endorphins and stuff. So we want that happiness dopamine release into our brain. And that's basically what drives us, and it's just how we want to get that dopamine is how we differ. Because no one like intentionally makes themselves, well, I'm not gonna say nobody. Most people don't go out in their lives and say, hey, I want to be unhappy. I want to be unhappy with my life. I want to be this way for the rest of my life. I never want to change. I want to be constantly unhappy for the rest of my life until I die. There are very few people who do that. There might be some very religious like monks and stuff that might do that. But for the most part, we're going to want to have a life that makes us happy. But it's basically your definition of happiness that's gonna determine if you can obtain that. And for me, my definition of happiness is not wealth. It's not my appearance. It's not how much money I have. It's not the cars I drive. I mean, yeah, it's fun to have fun, fancy cars. Am I ever really going to have one? No. I mean, it'd be cool to be able to go 200 miles an hour. Am I ever going to use it? No. Okay. Yeah, never going to get really expensive cars. So that's not on my list of being happy. But my version of happiness is it's a very simple life. Even just working like a minimum wage job to make to live in a tiny apartment. And what my happiness focuses around more is friends and family more than the material things. Some people are very materialistic, and I used to be a lot more so than I am now. So I can't like be like, oh, you're stupid because you're materialistic. There's definitely some material things that I love. Like I love my technology. I'm definitely materialistic about my technology. It's probably never really going to change. I love getting technology even if I don't need it. It's cool. So there are definitely things that I am materialistic about. You never really can be not materialistic about anything. There's going to be something, for the most part, that you're going to want. But I want to focus more on the friends and family and stuff than on the wealth and big houses. And it's kind of what I've learned along my life, is that you shouldn't judge people. People are much more than how much money they have and like what their house looks like or what they wear. You definitely should not judge people by their appearances. And it gets said a lot, but to actually take it to heart is a whole different thing. One of my best friends, or not my best friends, one of my good friends, is what I meant to say. His name is Kyle. I've known him for a long time, and he really he challenged my judgments of people. He got both of his ears gauged, which is like where you like get the hole and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
What is it?
It's known as gauging your ears. And then he also got a nose piercing and a full sleeve tattoo. And normally those things, I would judge people a certain way, mostly negative, with like seeing somebody just across the room saying, hey, ooh, he has gauges and a nose ring and a tattoo and whatever. He's probably a jerk and whatever and blah 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 blah, hates everything and whatever. But Kyle's one of the nicest, most sincere people I know, who I've known for a very long time, since we were both younger, at least not like that young, but still younger. And like knowing him before he had all this stuff really makes a difference, because it's like, wow, just because he got all that stuff does not change who he is. It doesn't change the fact that I still think he's an awesome guy. And so it's like I can't judge him on the gauges and the nose rings, and if I can't judge him, why should I judge anyone else? Like based on that stuff. So I think I've had my eyes kind of opened in that sense by him, and I'm grateful for that, because it definitely helps. You get to be friends with different people that you normally would be like, oh, I'm never going to associate with them. They're not my type, etc. But it turns out like they want a tattoo. I mean, like that doesn't mean they're into some certain type thing that you're not going to like be a part of. I mean, it could. I mean, they're definitely going to be people with different interests in you, and you're not always going to have the same interests every single person. It's never going to happen. If you could have the same interests as every single person in the world, you'd probably be like a world leader or something. But I'm happy that he did make me not judge people as much. And it's the same thing with like possessions. It's like you shouldn't say that this person is a good person or whatever, or like successful just because they have a giant house. I mean, there's plenty of people with giant houses who are hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, working to pay it off, because they want to live big and look good and stuff, even though they couldn't really afford it. So they took out loans, and now they're in debt and having to pay that back. So it's definitely not. You should not say, oh, he's successful because he has cool stuff. You should judge success by if they're happy with what they're doing with their life, and if they can support themselves to be able to live. I mean, that's basically the baseline. If you can support yourself, if you can give yourself food, provide yourself food to eat, water, And I mean, electricity and heating at this point in America are pretty much essential for most people. I mean, they're not essential, but the vast majority have them. So I will kind of throw that under the whole, like, supporting for yourself. That's basically what I want to do. I want to have just enough money to buy like a 1-bedroom apartment, live by myself or with a friend, have friends over a lot, and not focus on a job or a certain thing that I think could bring me success through money or like fame or anything. I'm certainly not doing YouTube for fame, because although I probably will like give out my name and everything and like show my face, it's not because I want people to like be like, oh, that guy's so cool, and like if they see me on the street, stop me and be like, wow, I think you're so cool. You're so cool that you're famous and whatever. Certainly not for the fame. I'm doing it more just as a hobby, something to do, and as the venting technique. Because it helps me think about things that are going around my brain and kind of put them into words. Obviously, as I'm speaking words right now. But I think the key to being happy or the key to being successful is being happy with what you have and not focusing on what you could have as much. So I was going to go to college to be a mechanical engineer, and while I love tinkering around with stuff, like taking apart whatever machines and kind of looking at how they work, thinking about doing a desk job for 40 years of my life, constantly having overtime and having to bring things home, and basically make my life devoted around that one work thing. It's just horrifying and terrible to me. I want a job that only will work between the hours that it's assigned to, and then I can go home and relax and do my own thing, like make YouTube videos and hang out with friends. And there's lots of like I guess I've seen them as posts on Reddit, honestly, where it's like the most regrettable things that people say on their deathbeds, or like what they regret the most on their deathbeds, and it's never, I didn't spend enough time at my job, like trying to get that promotion, trying to make that little bit more money, whatever. It's always, I didn't spend enough time with my family. I wanted to hang out more with my friends. I wish I had like told blah 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 how much they meant to me, some stuff like that. Because in the end, your money means nothing. You're going to die either way, whether you have $1 billion in the bank or none. And you don't get to use any of that after you're dead. It ceases to matter to you. The only thing it then matters to is inheritance. People who will take the money from you once you're dead, basically. But I'm of the no child persuasion, I guess. I've never been a fan of kids. I am saying right now I'm not going to ever have kids. And of course my mother says that that's what every guy says when they're in their this stage of their life. And of course they'll eventually settle down and have kids. But I legitimately do not want kids because with my plan of life, I don't think I could support them in a level I would want to raise a kid in. If I'm going to be like just working a minimum wage job for the rest of my life, which it might happen, then I'm not going to be able to make enough for to support myself and a kid in a reasonable fashion. And I want to bring a kid into the world that I can't support in a good fashion and to make them have a good life as well. Because my upbringing was pretty decent. But I guess that's the end of my rant because the mission is over. Probably do future episodes, post-commentary style, and talk more about my life and my views and everything. But hopefully if anyone watches this, you'll understand where I'm coming from. Hopefully you found some of this stuff interesting. If you have opinions, counterpoints, stuff like that, let me know in the comments, and hope you enjoyed. I will see you next time. So, thanks. Goodbye.